What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Week 13 NFL Power Rankings. We are into December football now. In my opinion, my favorite month of football. Just these teams are putting everything on the line. There's teams that will come in hot under the radar like every year, make their presence known, straighten things out in the last month of the season. So excited to talk about the Power Rankings here. I do want to thank you all for watching, ask that you do drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the Power Rankings every week, or if you're just checking in this week, welcome. So let's get into it here. Number 32, we are sticking with the Oakland Raiders at the bottom. I still believe from a talent perspective, at the bottom of the league. I don't know if John Gruden is the worst coach in the world. They did hang in here with Baltimore. We'll see where this all goes in the future, but right now, I do think the Raiders are at the bottom of the barrel. Number 31, the New York Jets. Now, I actually picked them to play pretty scrappy with the Patriots this week at home, despite having them ranked here at 31. That's pretty much exactly what happened. I actually picked the score to be 27-13. I think it was 28-13. So I think we saw the Jets I was expecting this week. I'm not entirely convinced that Sam Darnold is actually injured. I wouldn't be totally surprised if they're saying, just take it easy. We have no help for you. Just, watch McCown do his thing. Take some notes, and we'll get you going next year. That's kind of my theory there with the Jets, and I think that's actually really smart because he really is left out to dry with this team that has a lot of holes. And then number 30, the Arizona Cardinals, getting absolutely walloped by the Chargers this week. Must have used all their energy trying to keep up with the Chiefs last week. Same boat as the Jets here, just need to help their quarterback, their young rookie quarterback, out in this offseason. It's going to be an absolute arms race for weaponry between these teams and some other teams trying to keep up with this modern trend of loading up offensive talent. If you didn't see the play where Josh Rosen got hit by a flag, I would go to Twitter and check that out because it was a good bit of humor. Okay, number 29, the San Francisco 49ers. They went into Tampa and more or less got handled. They just don't have any talent right now. Too many injuries. Although I shouldn't say they don't have any talent because I do like this offensive line. They just need receiver weapons. I think Dante Pettis showed some decent things this week. They need this defense to get some guys to really step up. They're definitely disappointed with how the young defensive potential has panned out this year. Guys like Armstead, Reuben Foster, of course, Akello Witherspoon. These guys we thought were going to be pieces of the future here. They have done nothing here. And even DeForest Buckner has had a pretty disappointing year, which is a surprise to me. But I'm still impressed with Kyle Shanahan. I think when they get Jimmy back next year with this offensive line, this team is going to be very special next year. But they definitely have some things to figure out. Number 28, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is mostly just a momentum thing. Like they're just dead. When they dropped that Steelers game, their season was effectively over. They already weren't playing with a lot of confidence because of Blake Bortles. They knew they had to play perfect defense to even have a chance to win. They go into Buffalo and get beat this week. I think the season's over for Jacksonville. They're benching Bortles now. I'd be surprised if they won any more games this year. And this team could be looking at a top 5 or 6 pick this year. Number 27, the Buffalo Bills. Hey, did you know the Buffalo Bills have as many wins as the Green Bay Packers this year? I know. Some of their losses are just train wreck losses, but the Buffalo Bills have actually been hanging around. They're not going to the playoffs, but this is still a team that can play really nice defense. They play excellent at home. This has always been their thing, really, for the last 5 years. It's the same reason I picked this team to win 6 games in the preseason, despite ranking them like 29th or whatever. And Josh Allen, could be early to say this, but does not really look like a bust at this point. I don't know how great he's going to be. Right now, he's basically a really poor man's Cam Newton, but you can really see how special this man is. I mean, that throw he made, the long touchdown, basically swarmed by defenders to get through that pocket and release the ball. I don't even know how he did, like physically speaking, but it comes out with zip, and just the big play potential there is really there, which is really impressive considering they have no offensive line. And what's his name? Robert Foster, undrafted rookie receiver, is like their best wide receiver. So they have a lot of work to do, but things are looking up for Buffalo. Number 26, the New York Giants, just remaining stagnant. They played Philly very tough, and this is a team that can play in some close games. but just down the stretch, you don't really trust Eli to make a play. This defense can't hang in there all game. They just don't have the talent. So a pretty stagnant team here, staying put at number 26. Number 25, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a good offense, and this team is playing well for Jameis right now. It's still a mess defensively, but you got to show up and score some points if you want to beat the Bucs. That's for sure. That's really all I'm going to say about them. It's going to be an interesting offseason to see what they do at the quarterback position. But for now, they are at least competent because of that offense. Number 24, the Washington Redskins. Now, the only reason they're still here above, I would say, the last three teams we just talked about is because it is a scrappy team that has gotten this far, winning close games, forcing turnovers, winning games that they frankly shouldn't have via mental toughness, and I think they can still do that. I think that's part of their culture. But with Colt McCoy, with this offense that was bad before the Alex Smith injury, it is one of the worst teams in the league, but you got to give them some respect for their ability to win close games, something that teams like the Giants and the Bucs really haven't proven the ability to do this year. They've proven the opposite, actually. But that said, every win that Washington gets moving forward is going to come as a surprise to me. Number 23, the Miami Dolphins. They definitely played really well in Indianapolis. They're pretty big underdogs there. I think the spread got to 10 points at one point. Well, they got Ryan Tannehill back, and they were really in this game till the end. They were in the lead for a while in this game. Definitely getting a spark there, getting their quarterback back. They can play some defense. It's a mentally tough team. I think they're a well-coached team. If you ask me, this team has overachieved this season, and it's because of that mental toughness and a decent formula in terms of taking care of the football and trying to generate big plays. Now, will this era ever be even in the conversation for a Super Bowl? No. But in the AFC, it's a formula that can keep them around this 20 to 26 range and win 6 to 8 games every year. Sure. I'd be looking to move on from Tannehill even if he comes back and has a good end to the end of the year here, which we'll continue to monitor. And then number 22, the Detroit Lions. Just continuing to do Detroit Lion things, running the ball into the back of their center on the 3 plays where Khalil Mack actually comes out of the game after Khalil Mack had just been breaking their game plan, forcing them to move the pocket and stuff. How do you possibly, as an offensive coordinator, not take advantage of those just 2-3 plays a game where Khalil Mack's not on the field breaking your offense? And then to have Roberts at the goal line do what he did, you got to play physical if you got 50 pounds and 3 inches on a cornerback, and he just got pushed around by Kyle Fuller. And it's just a microcosm of this Detroit team. They can't run the ball because they don't play physical. They have the talent on the offensive line, but they've never been able to figure it out. They haven't been able to establish consistent defense. It really, to me, is just a culture problem here, and I don't know if Patricia is going to be the right coach or not, but there's a lot of problems here in Detroit. And now one thing they had going for them is gone, in that they had a really good set of receivers, but all of a sudden you trade away Golden Tate. Marvin Jones is getting older and now can't stay healthy. All of a sudden this team needs weapons for Stafford, and things are looking like a mess here in Detroit. And then number 21, the Cleveland Browns. Just a dominant win in Cincinnati. The Baker Mayfield magic really has this team going. Baker is on fire, which is really impressive considering I don't think they have very many good weapons at all. And I still think those tackles need to be upgraded. But the defense plays well. These defensive backs have been making plays all year. This team forces turnovers. The future is incredibly bright for Cleveland. And it's just going to be fun to see how many wins they can rattle off and how much momentum they can keep going here, because this isn't a team that is really thinking about draft capital anymore. And that's definitely a change in mentality for this team. And it's got to be exciting if you're a Browns fan or a player for the Cleveland Browns. It's definitely a desirable coaching spot as well, and they've got a big decision coming up, trying to figure out who is going to lead this Baker Mayfield era with Myles Garrett in, frankly, a division that is full of teams on a downward trajectory, in my opinion. And then number 20, the Cincinnati Bengals. I know what you're thinking. They just got whooped by the Browns in Cincinnati. I get it. I thought about it. It really just came down to if they played again this week and AJ Green and Cordy Glenn were in there and Andy Dalton were healthy, I'm still going to take the Bengals in a close one. I took the Bengals before I found out about the Glenn AJ Green injury, and then I went back on it. I said, actually, give me the Browns. And it doesn't seem like those are significant injuries. So credit Cleveland with the win. taking a lot away from Cincinnati, who has lost so much momentum here. They do not look like a team that's ready to make the playoffs. I think this is probably the end of the Marvin Lewis era. Do we see the end of the Andy Dalton era? It's going to be interesting because this team has a lot of young talent that they've drafted well in the last couple of years, so I don't think they need to completely blow it up, but I do think you've got a pretty stagnant coach and quarterback situation, so it's a really tough offseason for this Bengals team, who's also facing the reality that their best players that they're paying, Geno Atkins, AJ Green, and Carlos Dunlap, have about a 3-year window. So they need to retool and not rebuild, in my opinion, but they definitely need to make some changes. Then number 19, the Denver Broncos. Big win against Pittsburgh, but this is one of those situations where not all wins are created equal. You watch that game, Denver did a really good job controlling that game. Phillip Lindsay is incredible. The defense did enough, but my God, did Pittsburgh give that game away. You can easily say there are 20 points that Pittsburgh left on the board over 3 or 4 really dumb mental mistakes. You got a blocked field goal. You got the fumble into the end zone for a touchback. You've got the interception on the goal line in a situation where they're trying to win the game, and a James Conner fumble in the fourth quarter. Pittsburgh was just taking a Gatling gun and just firing it into their shin in this game. Really frustrating game to watch as someone that had money on Pittsburgh. Denver's hot right now. They could very well be a playoff team. They're definitely starting to get this defense to play closer to the potential that they thought it had heading into the year. And the offense is doing some nice things with Lindsey, and Case Keenum's actually playing pretty damn well the last few weeks. So give them some credit. It was, in my opinion, a game that Pittsburgh lost as opposed to Denver winning, but they do have 2 huge wins in the last 2 weeks, even though I would argue last week the Chargers lost it for themselves as well. But some of that is taking the ball away if you're Denver, so you gotta split it somewhere. That's just kind of my take on it. Number 18, the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to stay put here. Talk about shooting yourselves in the foot here. 3 fumbles in this football game. I actually thought Atlanta outplayed New Orleans in that game. Atlanta's defense has actually, done some things. This is a defense that has completely fallen apart by injuries. But you go back and look at what they've done the last 4 weeks. It hasn't been as bad as you might have thought it would have been. They can move the ball at will, but the thing with the Falcons is they continue to be a between-the-20s team. Matt Ryan can't finish in the red zone, and this is just not a mentally tough football team right now. Now, some people might think this is overrated. Well, I think this is still a really tough team to beat because you do have to score a lot of points, and recently it's been you have to get lucky in getting the turnovers. Because when this team is on, they can score 35 points. So I still think they're a solid team, but man, are they shooting themselves in the foot and getting unlucky with injuries this year. And then number 17, the Philadelphia Eagles, a big win against the Giants. It was not an impressive win, but this is a team that has had a hard time finding those tallies in the left-hand column lately. Any bit of momentum they can get going as they start to get more healthy here is going to be big for them. For those that heard my podcast, I said before this week that taking Philly at 3-1 to win this division is one of the best bets you could have made at the time, because Dallas plays New Orleans on Thursday night. Philly plays the Redskins this week. I don't see any way Philly loses that game. And then those 2 teams will be playing the next week, and they will both be 6-6. Now, I don't think Philly, after getting this win against the Giants, is going to be 3-1 anymore, but my money is on them to actually win the NFC East, get more momentum, become a better football team here in December. Like I said in the intro, a lot of teams will emerge late in the season like this. I think Philly is one of those teams. You look at the line play, I know their offensive line has not played well to this point, but they have the talent. Defensively, we know their defensive line is great. We know they have a quarterback, and they have the pedigree. So keep an eye out for Philly. I don't think they're going to, come back all the way and be a Super Bowl team, but I think they're going to find their way into the playoffs through that pretty bad NFC East division. And then number 16, the Tennessee Titans. We got the bad Titans this week. We might get the good Titans that whooped the Patriots next week. Who knows? I think 16 is the perfect spot for this Titans team, right in the middle of the league. I don't really feel like talking about them any more than that, so let's move on. Number 15, the Dallas Cowboys. Though I said all those things about Philly, Dallas has heated up quite a bit, and I really like this defense. Now, as we head down the stretch here, more outdoor football for Dak Prescott with an offensive line that is beat up and injured and just has not played well at all. I think we could see some really bad, regressed versions of this offense, and I don't know if this defense can carry that. Now, they could very well just, crawl into the playoffs at 8-8, but I do not expect a very pretty showing Thursday night as they got to go into New Orleans without most of their offensive line. Number 14, the Baltimore Ravens, taking care of the Raiders at home. Lamar Jackson is definitely sparking some intrigue into this team, and they are way more fun to watch now. You got Gus Edwards running the ball well. We'll continue to see how legit he is. Keep in mind, Alex Collins absolutely broke out in the same way Gus Edwards is doing right now at the exact same time last year. December football, where running the ball is more important. Now, that change of climate definitely helps a team like Baltimore as opposed to like your Kansas Cities and, Houston and Minnesota maybe. Offensive line play is going to become so much more important as the climate becomes a bigger factor. So it does swing things towards Baltimore a little bit. Maybe they can keep this thing interesting. Pittsburgh's lost a few in a row now, so the AFC North is opening up a little bit, but that AFC wildcard is wide open. So maybe they can get in and make things interesting, but they are fun to watch right now with Lamar Jackson. Number 13, the Green Bay Packers. The only thing that's a bigger joke than this coaching staff is their schedule for the remainder of the season. They will be 2-score favorites in every game outside of their game at Chicago this year. So if they can find a way to win that game in Chicago, this team is going to finish 9-6-1. And does that get them into the wild card? Probably not. They would need some pretty serious help from a few of these teams above them. I don't think anyone wants Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Nobody wants to play him. But McCarthy with just another pathetic performance on national television. 3rd and 4th down. There's no plan. I don't know if McCarthy's added a new play call to his Cheesecake Factory menu since like 2014 in a league where the best offenses are changing their play calls every single game. New Orleans, the Rams, the Chiefs, like these offenses are just so creative. And then you watch McCarthy running a dive on 4th and 1 in 32 personnel when both of your guards are injured against one of the best D-lines in football. And that was after he spent the entire pre-play arguing with the ref about the clock. Like, dude, focus on your play call. So the Packers are in for an interesting offseason. They need to find a new coach and at first make the right decision to fire Coach McCarthy and not get sucked into this when they beat the Cardinals by 20 points and they beat the Jets and they beat the Lions week 17. You can't get sucked into McCarthy again. You got to look yourself in the mirror and move on. Number 12, the Carolina Panthers. Really tough loss. It's going to be a serious hit on their playoff chances. They got to play the Saints twice, and it's not like any of their games are a lock. This team plays in a ton of close games. So things are definitely trending down for them. Still a really solid team. Can really beat most of the teams in this league, but definitely a big loss there not being able to close out Seattle at home this week in what was really a must-win game. And then the Houston Texans, this was their most impressive win on the season, undoubtedly. Dominating the Titans, really taking the reins on this AFC North division, but just the way they did it. Really good offense. Deshaun Watson made some beautiful throws. The defense looked fantastic tonight. J.J. Watt is back. You're seeing those superstar plays and elevating the rest of the roster here that has its problems, but Houston's looking like a special football team. And if they keep heating up the way they have for the last 2 months, we could arrive in January with this being one of the hottest teams in the entire league. And then number 10, talk about heating up, and number 9 when we get there. But the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson is doing some special things this year. I mean, he's out here making David Moore look like a number 1 deep threat in this league. The offensive line's playing great, but then you know the things he's doing for Tyler Lockett, who's been a star this year. Their run game is great. And then their defense, I mean, credit Pete Carroll and this staff for getting this defense to play at the level they're playing at. I mean, people thought this roster was one of the worst in the NFL heading into the year. And they have taken that and turn this into a really systematic defense that is very effective. I'm not going to call it an elite defense, but it really is a testament to the coaching and the discipline of these players. And then number 9, the Indianapolis Colts. It got pretty scary there. It was not very clean, but they pick up their 5th win in a row. Andrew Luck special again in this one, leading this charge in the 4th quarter. T.Y. Hilton looks healthy now, and this offense is rolling. This defense can do some nice things. The Colts are a very good football team that maybe wishes they had a few of those tough losses back from earlier in the year when they were so beat up. We'll see if they can catch the Texans. I know that the Texans are probably going to win this division, but I think just if you look at the way this team plays and the trajectory of their season, I do believe the Colts are a better football team than the Houston Texans. But it is pretty close. Number 8, the Vikings are going to stay put here. Now, I still think this team has a lot of problems. This offensive line played better this week, but that Green Bay D-line was ravaged with injuries. I don't think anyone's trusting this line to buy Kirk Cousins a lot of time against the Chicagos or the Chargers, or frankly, like the Rams or even the Steelers and the Saints of the world, all teams that rank above them. And this defense still has some things going on. Xavier Rhodes, who's been the only competent corner on this team, he suffers a hamstring injury, but even when he's out there, he hasn't been very good this year. The pass rush, Danielle Hunter's been their best guy, but Everson Griffin needs to get this thing going. So they're hanging around, but I think, the more people you ask, it's been a pretty disappointing season for the Vikes, and they are definitely, I would say, a tier below my next team here, who is the Chicago Bears, the best defense in football. Big deal to get that win on the road with the backup quarterback. They'll get Trubisky back. Now, they announced that Daniel was going to be the starter here, and the line moved to half a point. So Vegas sits with me in that, Trubisky doesn't really offer a lot for this team. I'm not going to get into the Trubisky thing on this video. Those that have been around are very familiar with my take on Mitch Trubisky. But this defense is something else. They're basically the Jaguars of 2018 with a better coach and offensive playmakers, I would say. And then number 6, the New England Patriots. Really still not very impressed with this team. You could see some things against the Jets. They just aren't, a fully efficient offense like they have been in years past. This defense I don't trust to hold up against the competent offenses of the world. Obviously, when you're playing the Jets, you can play good defense. So the Patriots and the Bears, and I think my next team here, the Pittsburgh Steelers, are kind of in this tier between Tier 1 and Tier 3 that starts with the Vikings. These are teams that are really long shot Super Bowl competitors. Teams that I think have the talent to do it, but I really just can't personally see it happening based on whatever factors. So the Steelers here at number 5, they've really shot themselves in the foot the last couple weeks. I do believe in the offensive talent. Like I said, offensive line play is going to become more important as we enter December football here. Their defense is a big reason I am more optimistic about them, is that they can really get after the quarterback, and the secondary has played better. This is a team that I really don't see losing any games here in December. It's a team built for outdoor, cold weather football. I do think they wish they had Le'Veon Bell right now, though. And then number 4, the Chargers. Really good job to regain some momentum. Now they have Joey Bosa back healthy. Melvin Gordon does get beat up here. I think they're going to kind of keep him, conserve him for the playoffs at this point. Really sucks if you have rode him in fantasy football, because he might be getting a pretty small, touch share moving forward. So do keep an eye on that. But the Chargers are legit, man. They don't have a home field, which sucks. Still don't trust them to not shoot themselves in the foot, but I still think, strictly talking about the chess pieces here, the roster, it is the best in the NFL, in my opinion. And then number 3, the Chiefs, they were on bye. We know they're special. Number 2, the Rams, on bye. We know they're special. And number 1, the New Orleans Saints, still rolling. I did say that I thought they got outplayed by Atlanta, but they did take the ball away. Found a way to win this game by 2 scores, so I'm not going to hold that against them. The Saints, to me, are right there with the Rams and the Chiefs offensively, but have a defense that is a step above those 2 teams. So those are the power rankings this week. Again, guys, like and comment and subscribe. Even if you disagree with me, let me know why in the comments. Cheers as always, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.